Steve Allee is a world-renowned jazz artist, composer, and educator from Indianapolis. And he says his interest in jazz began with a record collection compiled by his grandmother and uncle, a collection he still remembers fondly to this day.
There was some early Fats Waller album called Ain't Misbehavin' that they used to play by the hour. And then there was an album that had the Miles Davis, Gil Evans collaboration they did a remake of Porgy and Bess, all the music from that show. And there was one song in particular, It Ain't Necessarily So, their version of that. It really struck me. And there was something mysterious about it and exciting and fun. So I just kept saying, would you play that one over again? Would you play that one more time? And I think that kind of was the spark that got me actually pursuing listening more to more music, even more jazz, like the Dave Brubeck Quartet, and then, of course, Miles Davis, John Coltrane. And during that time, I did have the opportunity to see some live music here in town, and that really, I think, was a catalyst also for inspiring me, such as I got to see the Duke Ellington Orchestra twice, the Stan Getz Quartet with Gary Burton, Oscar Peterson, Roy Eldridge, Coleman Hawkins, Ella Fitzgerald. I saw all those people actually at Clues Hall back in the day. So when you hear the music live, there's something that reaches you that even recordings can't. But I've really had the bug by then and loved it.
Allee, who is a veteran of the Vietnam War, says it was here that he played his strangest gig.
I was drafted when I was 19 years old off of the Buddy Rich Band. And one of our many, many duties were to play for many events. And one of them was they were holding war games out in they call it the bush, or way out in 20 miles away from the base, out in the woods and everything. And they set up a little bandstand out there. and we had a group that played for them, and I remember playing and looking out and seeing tanks rolling along in front of me while we were playing. And so that kind of ranks up there as a fairly odd gig for us to play.
Allee is also the music director for the nationally syndicated morning radio show, The Bob and Tom Show. His knowledge of jazz and skill set as a jazz composer have made him the perfect fit for this position.
I had primarily worked with Tom Griswold at first, and in writing songs, because we would write songs in teams. Tom Griswold and I and Ricky Rydell would work together on music, and then Bob Kavoyan would work with Wick Grayson or Dean Metcalf, and they would work on songs. And then when we wouldn't show them to each other until the very last moment when they were going to play them on the air in order to get the best initial response and laugh. But jazz and kind of a Broadway music style really lends itself to comedy better than maybe a stronger rock and roll feel. Rock and roll is so strong that sometimes it's a little distracting, I guess, and just a little too much over the top. But jazz and Broadway kind of has a way of being a softer underscore, I guess you'd say. And then so you can talk or sing over the top of the music, and it's not intrusive. And also there's maybe more chords involved, so there's a little more of a form that repeats itself, and it's very conducive to comedy.
Allee has also been involved with composing music for television shows due to his musical partnership with Tom Morton, the one who gave Steve this opportunity and made way for their work to be heard on shows like NYPD Blue and Martha Stewart, just to name a few.
I would go out there, and he actually produced my first two albums, Magic Hour and Mirage, and we really struck up a nice friendship and a great working relationship that we could actually compose music together, something that I had never done before with another person. And so we would work on music. He would say, "Well, we have a show. I have a show coming up, NYPD or Touched by an Angel or something like that, and we need a specific style of music, or we need to write a theme that might work." But he had the experience how to, in a very few amount of notes, be able to convey a certain emotion or mood without being distracting. And that's a challenge, but that was a lot of fun. So we We've worked on many, many cues, they call them, and different pieces over the years for network television.
Allee, who has taught and lectured at several college and university music programs over the years, feels the need to give back because of the tremendous teachers that he had to help guide him to where he is today.
Fred Niemeyer at Ben Davis High School, and Jim Edison, Claude Sifferlin, and actually many others were very instrumental and very gracious and unselfish about imparting the knowledge. I would get together with one of the guys, and they might spend hours working with me, just show me anything that I would ask. And I was a curious guy for music knowledge, so they could just go on and on. Jim Edison helped me so much with writing and arranging and playing me examples of great writers and arrangers. Claude Sifferlin was my piano teacher pretty much, except he wouldn't ever tell me what to do. So he was one of those kind of a Zen piano teacher where you had to figure out what to do, but he would help guide you along the way. And we had a great relationship. So to have a mentor or somebody who can help guide you is so important. And I always valued that very much, and maybe playing a small part in some of my students' education to guide them, perhaps. And there's a lot of book knowledge out there, but I can help give them some practical guidance for some things that they might not read in a book.
Allee's son David, owner of the Jazz Kitchen, a jazz club in Indianapolis, is a talented trumpet player, a skill set that Steve isn't shocked by because of a love for music that was instilled in him from an early age.
I mean, he picked it up right away. Even when he was like 3 years old, he would be dancing around the house listening to Cannonball and Adderley and John Coltrane. So he had such an influence early on, and he even resonated with some classical music that would come on. Occasionally he might just sit down for an hour and listen to a classical piece that maybe came on PBS or something like that, and just completely zone in to that music. So I think he had a musical ability very early on, and then he played, started trumpet in the band in grade school and continued in junior high and high school, and has just gotten better and better and better. And he can play drums pretty well as well. So he just loves music. He is the happiest when the bands at the Jazz Kitchen are really playing at their highest level. And he knows what the highest level is. And I just kind of am amazed now after 20 years, and I was thinking of what a hole in our musical community we would have if the Jazz Kitchen wasn't there right now. The club gives so many bands the opportunity to stay together and an outlet to play and perform for people. It's so necessary. So, David has kind of sacrificed some of his musical career as a performer in order to be dedicated to provide the venue that we can all play. So our hats certainly go off to him for his continued efforts to make that possible and present that to the community.
In a career that has spanned more than 3 decades, Allee says that the most rewarding part of being a musician is the communication that happens between him and the audience.
I realized a long time ago that this is really not about me, that the music feels like a gift. It just passes through me. Music does not belong to me. It just comes through me, and it goes to the other musicians on the bandstand, and then it goes out to the audience. And then hopefully they receive it, and then it goes full circle and comes back, and that completes the circle, comes back to the musicians. So hopefully we've all feel some sort of joy, or we're touched in an emotional way somehow. I also feel like music can heal people. If you're feeling down or something, music is the wonderful thing that can lift you up and give you hope and help you in your day-to-day life.
For my friend Steve Allee, I'm Jimmy Kennedy.